Life hack for summer residents on the law of the sea. The purpose of the article is to brainwash the cottagers and all the rest, having property on the ground, on the part of any laws, for tightening the screws so-called authorities. 1. There are no official state authorities of the Russian Federation within the borders of the USSR. On Kennard learned to finally distinguish public from federal. Federal equals union, united, Latin, or no sense this word not bears. From which it follows that, for example, the FSB is a private commercial shop, armed bandits, not related to the concept of a state body. In contrast to the same KGB committee, i.e., a permanent executive body under the legislative supervisory authority of the people, the Council of People's Deputies of the USSR. State, that is, the repressive machine of the ruling class, in the USSR, the working class over social parasites, security. 2. The so-called Russian Federation has a system of maritime law. The law of the sea operates on water, or on conditional water. The law of the sea establishes order relationships between the two, or more, ship captains. What a particular captain does on his ship is his internal affair. The sea law solves questions of divergence of vessels in the sea, the order of compensation of harm to the captain of the ship if it was caused harm by other captain from other ship. The captain of a passing ship has the right to offer me a bargain with him. In this case, he throws me on board his proposal, a contract, an offer, a conventional envelope with a letter of contract. As captain of my ship, I respect his right to enter into commercial relations with me, but I have the right to refuse the contract. In case of failure, I write on the envelope the contract phrase, "No contract," return to sender, and throw this envelope back on board the captain of the ship sender. And we parted literally like ships at sea. Now you understand the principle of maritime law, acting in the legal field of the Russian Federation. We have the right to offer each other contracts, but none of us have the right to impose our contracts on us against our will. This is the main principle of the law of the sea. 3. In maritime law, only the declarative nature of the relationship is valid. No one forced you to enter into relations with Rosregister, the Cadastral Chamber, the Federal Tax Service, the FSB, the Prosecutor's Office, the Interior Ministry, and with other private commercial firms RF, the essence of which ships at sea. Why you going in on to register as taxpayers? And Dick knows you. Did someone force you to do this with a stick? No, you went there yourself. Why did you go there? That's because the scammers from the company Russia to you day and night shit to the ears through the idiot box, suggesting that this needs to be done. To you were better suggestible, Zomboyskik you scared different misfortunes, weaning property, prison, execution, anal defloration, in case you do not poprits declare themselves. You flooded. In the Federal Tax Service, you asked employees a moronic question, what do I have to do to register as a slave, individual, taxpayer? There you honestly answered, you need to declare your desire to become a slave of the company RF. Literally it sounded like this: write a statement, here's a sample. In the sample application, you, suckers, were slipped tricky phrases, such as, please, 1. Put me on the register, 2. As an individual, taxpayer, slave, 3. Please assign me an individual digital slave code, in. Further down the list. But it is you who have declared, that is, expressed your will. This is the declarative nature in the law of the sea. Another question: why? You said it was a matter of individual impenetrable stupidity. And what it was possible. Yes, it was possible and not to be declared. Similarly, you yourself declare in the courts, in the prosecutor's office, the police, and other private firms RF, which are quite openly tell you, think about it, that they render you services. Advertising. Do you need a service that provides you, for example, TFR, which drags you against your will in the commercial organization court of the Russian Federation? Did you order this service? If not, why do you go there? Don't you have a gun of your own to tell them you don't need their services, that you don't have a contract with them? The crooks who operate under the cover of the sea flag are not interested in you being in charge. They need you stupid morons. In maritime law, it is contraindicated to explain the rights of others. It is based on the stupidity of opponents and profits precisely from the stupidity of opponents. How to perceive the hype with the laws of the Russian Federation around the topic of summer residence. Remember that almost all of the country partnership established in continental legal field of the USSR. In accordance with the legal field of the USSR, Dacha Association's Authority Council of People's Deputies of the RSFSR transferred to free and unlimited use. I emphasize, to use, piece of land. What issued the relevant state act on the right to use the land? The Association of Summer Residents self-organized and fixed the relations, the Charter of Association of Summer Residents. According to this charter, the Association of Summer Residents became an autonomous vessel, ship. What the partnership is engaged on the allocated land, few people care about. The main thing is that the land is used for its intended purpose. Use. Establish on this earth their rules of the game, charter. In the early 1990s, management in the USSR captured bandits and crooks. The real power was temporarily withdrawn. Bandits and swindlers declared themselves the power and hung up a sea flag in the territory of the USSR, with I will notice consent, to be exact, ignorance. These bandits and swindlers designated themselves as the firm with the name Russian Federation. From that moment, the Russian Federation began to maraud on the territory of the USSR, with the use of zombie technologies and fooling citizens of the USSR. Their main goal was, and is, the seizure of our territory, land, and property, subsoil. Having handed over in scrap all that can be handed over, having swallowed that could swallow, the Russian Federation aimed at land's summer residents. Why start Sodrikovit us through the media information about the need for all sorts of suburban reforms? They began to fuck us brains phrases change its charter, in order to bring it into line with the current law, the law of the Russian Federation, of course, which does not exist de jure. Stupid, often bribed or intimidated, chairmen of country partnerships, with incomprehensible goals themselves corrected the statutes of the partnership exclusively for the needs of fraudsters of their company RF. Why did they do it? They won't be able to tell you that. Law changed is the most they can mumble. Because stupid, but you yourself appointed such chairman. Who changed the law? For what purpose changed the law? We have forgotten how to think and make decisions on our own. The chairman is a force in the right hands. The president may gather a general meeting, such as blunt as it members, submit a question for discussion, state, and populate it in the presence of a quorum. Therefore, all the hype with all sorts of new laws of the Russian Federation should be ignored. These are the usual offers from the captain of the ship RF. No contract, return to sender. No contract, return to sender. No contract, return to sender. It's not just a beautiful headline, it's a key phrase from the law of the sea. Send to fuck all businessmen from so-called power departments, and in fact private business firms Russian Federation. Send them competently, they will lag behind. For they act in the law of the sea. Become the captain of the ship in its name. The ship's captain Ivan Ivanovich Ivanov failed to conclude the contract with firm the traffic police of the Russian Federation on voluntary cash donations for speeding. In practice, if you received an envelope with a similar contract, donate 500 rubles for high-speed mode, write on the envelope, there is no contract, return to the sender. And either you take it to the traffic police, or pack it in a new envelope and send a letter with a notification to the sender. It works, it's self-tested. What to do summer residents if you came beggar from the Federal Tax Service, with the calculation of tax on real estate. First, ignore the letter. Second, if you will come court order, pay tax on real estate, cancel this court order. How to cancel it? Read this tape. There is a corresponding article where everything is chewed, step by step. Third, just don't piss. You hear, chief? There is desire to donate to swindlers money, for land, that for you their blood paid your fathers and grandfathers. There is no desires right on a beggar, there is no contract, return sender. What to do if you pull a subpoena? Within 3 days on the subpoena, write no contract, return to sender. Add the phrases your credentials are not documented. I do not recognize you and do not accept any obligations and guarantees. Such statements have already begun to arrive in illegal courts of Russian Federation and fairly unnerved businessmen judges. They shock them, enter into a stupor, forced to think up different freaks and to apply judicial tricks, at any cost to entice us in courts. We're using magic legal terms to set us status slave. In maritime law, there are a lot of presumptions, assumptions about something. For example, the presumption of a subpoena. The presumption of a subpoena. The presumption of a subpoena means that a subpoena is generally left unchallenged, and those who appear before the court are expected to agree with their quality position as a defendant, assessor, or witness, as well as with the jurisdiction of the court. The turnout before the court usually involves a challenge at the subpoena. If there was no waiver of the subpoena and its return by sending a copy of the waiver, information about which in advance before the appearance in court is entered into the protocol, the jurisdiction and quality of the accused continue to operate, and the presence of guilt is undoubted. Now do you understand what to do with a subpoena if you were attacked?